Hey, what's up YouTube? We're back with another video today. We just finished up our stream talking about and playing all morning the new Siegebreaker Warbond, and I gotta say, it's a banger. No spoilers, just to start off the video, but man, it is a fun one. Before we get into talking about the Warbond, just a heads up, there was a pretty sizable patch today if you guys haven't seen. Emotes and victory poses are now interchangeable with one another, which is really cool. Our weapon wheels, so when you like hold the reload button and you see your weapon change fire rate and change ammunition and stuff like that, it's all unified for the most part. Most things are on the left now, which is fantastic if you've been messing around with the quick change keybinds. Fantastic changes. Hats off to the devs. Happy that they implemented it. I've been kind of pushing for it for a while, so I'm really happy about it. They did some balancing for the grenade launcher. It's now went from medium pen to heavy pen. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we talk about the Beltfed grenade launcher a little bit later into the video. They also changed how melee weapons kind of work. They don't need the armor as much as before, which is a good change. Their base damage is brought up, but then they brought down the armor a little bit, so it's about the same, but a little bit better for some weapons. Kind of depends. Less weapon sway for pistols and SMGs. Fantastic. Really didn't like that mechanic too much. One really nice one, C4 now has enough demolition force to blow up Bile Titan nests and break like those big walls on some of the cities. Great change. Happy that that kind of made it through. It is like kind of like a hidden change, but they probably just forgot to put it in the patch notes. But overall, great patch. Really enjoying it. And we are on the march to Cyberstan at the moment with the Bastion tank that has been added. Just a quick little peek at it before we get into the Warbond. Sorry, just doing some extra stuff here because I know some people are going to be interested in it. The Bastion tank has been added. 35,000 credits to unlock. It's probably a similar level. I don't know exactly what level. Maybe someone in the comments down below can tell me, but it's probably like level 20 or so to unlock, similar to the mech. 2 players is optimal to run it. 1 person gunning, 1 person driving. There are 2 additional slots so you can see above. Really fun weapon, very tanky, as the name suggests. The weapon itself is incredibly powerful. The main tank cannon is, able to 2-shot like most like large structures like command bunkers and the large fabricators. It can 1-shot a drop ship. It can 1-shot a Bile Titan, 1-shot a faction strider, especially if you hit it in the eye. It's incredibly powerful, and it comes with 30 rounds, one already loaded, 30 in reserve, and 2,000 rounds of a coaxial machine gun, heavy machine gun that is, in reserve, so you can fire both at the same time. We had some fun against the Hive Lord today. Me and my 3 friends, basically 2 tanks, 2 players each, and we took out a Hive Lord together with that. We did have to swap out a tank at one point just because they do take a lot of damage from all the reinforcements that are coming in, but it was really fun. It's a very fun tank. We'll be talking about it more, but starting off with it, it's good. It's good. It's going to be a little tough for you to run solo, but it's good. You're going to have a great time with it. Getting on with the meat and potatoes of the video, we're going to be talking about the Warbond now, the Siegebreaker Warbond that came out today. Obviously, we got everything unlocked. Thank you, Arrowhead, for that. But we're going to be going over all of it and trying to tier list it for you at the same time. The tier list will be more or less all-encompassing for the entire game. I'll talk about the pros and cons for each faction, and there are some, as all weapon systems are, they will be maybe a bit better for bugs than they are for bots, and they might excel versus squids, let's say. But getting into it, we will start off with the grenade launcher. The grenade launcher, the Beltfed, is along the same type of mechanics as the Maxim machine gun. You'll notice the backpack looks incredibly similar. It comes with 100 rounds in reserve, 25 rounds per yellow brick pickup. Obviously, if you have the ship upgraded, you get all 100 rounds back when you get a normal resupply yellow brick. As far as damage, it is 100% less than the standard GL. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it seems to be at least half. But obviously, the fire rate is extremely high in comparison, and obviously it is belt fed, so you can keep that fire rate up. The explosion rate is also reduced by at least 50%, but that doesn't mean that it is bad all of a sudden. The sheer rate of fire of it means that it can drop targets relatively quite quickly, especially with the heavy penetration that it has. Yes, it does have heavy armor penetration, pen 4. So that means you're taking out like hulks and chargers from the front. As far as taking out those enemies, it was like 15 or so shots to the front of a hulk. It seemed a bit variable depending on if you hit legs or if you hit the eye and stuff like that. But, give or take 15 to 20 shots for a charge Charger, it was something along the same lines. Obviously, because they're moving more often, it's a little bit harder to get the numbers down. But if you are taking on those enemies that are charging towards you, you're taking them out relatively quickly. It is a pretty high price to pay for your entire reserves, but where it does shine brightly is mostly for ad clearing. Vast majority of enemies are very weak to it. We're talking Devastators, Hunters, and so on and so forth. But it comes with the caveat that hopefully you're hitting them more direct impact wise rather than expecting the AoE to take them out. Because of the reduced AoE radius, you're not really going to be like landing it next to enemies and expecting full damage. That being said, I do think it performs quite well, but I think there's some severe trade-offs when we're talking about the normal GL versus the Beltfed. I think as like a mano stratagem to stratagem, the Beltfed is stronger than the regular GL. But that being said, obviously you have to sacrifice the backpack slot, so you're not going to be able to run that. And I do find that the other GL, when paired with the supply backpack, tends to just be the better option if you're willing to give up 2 stratagem slots versus 1. Mostly down to the fact that your supply backpack is just probably one of the overall best stratagems in the entire game for team play, for your single stratagems that only require your main hand, not your backpack. It just elevates them so high, giving you tons of stims, ammo, and just general team play, including grenades as well for your utility. Really good combo. It will more or less be a throw up on which one you're going to pick, but I do find that the Beltfed felt probably the best on Illuminate, and mostly because the Illuminate, as long as you can take out the shield of the Harvester, you're actually killing Harvesters incredibly fast. If you hit them in the white eye, you can actually drop them within like 10 shots. It was pretty damn fast. If you're hitting them for the main health bar, because they're so explosive resistant, you're probably taking like 20 plus shots to land, which is a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. As far as taking out the vote list, obviously it's extremely good, takes them out in 1 shot. Your overseers, if they're elevated, it was, I believe, 3, and the ground ones was 4 shots. And then for flesh mobs, you're looking for about 10 shots, give or take. I think it kind of depends on how many eyes you end up popping, because the eyes do chunk their health bar down. Yeah, I would say it's probably strongest on Illuminate, probably pushing it into the A tier pretty strong. Bots, it can sometimes be a bit difficult because obviously, you know, front side of tanks, you're not really taking it out. You have to flank them. For Hulks, you are taking a decent chunk of your ammo, and Devastators are going to be flinching you and engaging you at pretty long distances, so it can be a bit difficult. For bugs, if you can set up in a good spot, maybe with a little bit of like turret cover, you can do a stupid amount of damage to a bug breach, obviously. And any of the spewer types, very weak to explosive, very good versus them. You know, you can, with the heavy penetration, start, you know, taking out Bile Titans. If you want to go for the head, you can, but you're looking for 20 plus shots to that head to take it out, so just keep that in mind. Dragon Roaches, going for like, particularly probably trying to go for the stomach that splashes onto the wings, works pretty well. If you can hit headshots, try not to miss. It would be a good spot as well. I did enjoy that. For the Hive Lord, I would not recommend it for taking out the actual armor plate, but once the armor plate is gone, let's say you're using it with some kind of other weapon to remove armor plates, like a strafing run or something, it would do a lot of damage per second, especially since you can actually increase the fire rate to 320 rounds per minute. Very, very useful. So with that being said, I think it falls somewhere between like the B plus A minus tier. It's a bit tough depending on which faction you're primarily playing against. I think if you're primarily playing against the Illuminate, I think it becomes a very solid, good option for horde clearing and even your larger targets. But if you're playing more against bots, it's going to be lost in the noise of your heavy armor pen, more anti-tank oriented things, and you may feel like you're going to miss that supply backpack too much when comparing it to the normal GL, which with the buff, because remember, it also went up to heavy pen, it feels really good now with the supply backpack. So I would probably prefer that one over the Beltfed in a couple situations. Definitely out there. Okay, next we have the shield. The shield generator is like a throwable handheld like shield, just like the shield generator on your back, but you throw it on the ground, you can hide in it. Feels all right. It's mostly for, I would say, the bot faction, with a little teeny bit about the Illumina faction, mostly for those elevated overseers that might be pesky. It's nice. Throw it on the ground, you hide inside of it. It can absorb a decent amount of damage. It impressed me in some situations versus like a factory strider, being able to absorb a good amount of damage and even like 1 shell from up top. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. You know, you you can't expect it to work miracles for you, but in those like clutch situations where you just need a little bit of cover, especially at more longer ranges where it's not getting instantly melted down by a devastator, decent. It can reduce a lot of chip damage that you're taking. Would I say it's as good as like just a general shield generator or the larger stratagem version? No. And would I rather use this over like smoke or just gas grenade or just some kind of grenade to just eliminate the threat? No, but it has some unique utility, and if I was going to change it at all, I would just make it absorb some more damage, because with all the changes to the AI, suppressors, and just general AI intelligence, they've been bringing the AI down quite a bit as far as like how aware they are and how good they are at tracking you down. I would probably just prefer smoke than bringing this shield generator, personally, especially with the new impact smoke. In an instant, throw it at your feet, run away. It can be very nice to run. Or if you want something more, a little bit more universal, you always have gas grenade, which is more of like a pocket sand. Throw it right at the enemy, run away. It's taking damage and it's going to have a really hard time shooting back at you. So for that reason, overall, I think it's okay. Like it's hard for me to want to value it more than just C tier. There are some niche things that you could do. Obviously throwing it on the top of your tank to absorb some damage, or throwing it on your mech to absorb some damage. It doesn't have a crazy long duration, it seems, especially when it's taking fire, but it's okay. I didn't find myself finding it particularly useful, and I did miss a lot of other grenades. So keep that in mind. One thing before we go, it has come to light that I was kind of just missing something with the shield generator. As far as bouncing bullets and preventing a lot of damage from like just enemies in general, cool. But something you can do is you can start surviving some ridiculous explosions happening next to you, either by your teammates or yourself. Imagine a situation where you have, let's say an ultimatum or a leveler or a 500 kg that you just want to throw at your feet. You got tons of enemies around you. You can actually do that, and if you time the shield correctly, throw the shield down, sit inside the shield, explosion goes off, the shield eats all the damage, and you survive because of that. That's something you can do with the shield. And if that is something that you can reliably do, I think it automatically goes up to possibly like A tier, maybe even higher, depending on how much you like or dislike other grenades. But yeah, just wanted to put that in there. That's definitely something that is like day one tech that you don't really catch yourself, but you see some other people talking about it, and you're like, oh my god, that's insane. All right, next, going to the Fat Man. I just want to call it the Fat Man so bad because it just reminds me of the Fallout Fat Man, big nuclear explosion. It's awesome. The Leveler is a fantastic big boy version of the Ultimatum. It feels like the solo silo in another pair of pants, because instead of picking up a laser pointer and firing it and it landing on the target, you point it, you fire it, there's a lob, and it just does very similar activities while having a shorter cooldown. It's only 2 minutes, and being more immediate. Because one of the things that I always didn't love about the solo silo was that you had to run over to your silo, pick up the laser guider, point it, fire it, make sure you're far enough away so it doesn't knock you over, and then go pick up your other support weapon. Whereas with the Leveler, I find it's more immediate. I'm more like throwing it down in a pinch, kind of like an EAT or, something along those lines. So it feels along the lines of like your commando, your expendable napalm, or your EAT, just throwing it down, running over, picking it up, firing it, and going right back to what you're doing. You don't have to worry about it knocking you over. You don't have to worry about pointing it too much at a particular target. It's that immediate use, and it actually has like a faster result because you're obviously not going all the way up and all the way down. So really like the Leveler. It felt really natural to use on pretty much every faction, because you're looking at, one-shotting a factory strider. You're looking at one-shotting a large group of hive terminates, and you're looking at a very effective weapon for when those large groups of Illuminate are running at you. You're going to take out like 50 plus units, especially if you're talking about your voteless. So really like the Leveler. I think it easily deserves to be overall in the A tier for every faction. I think it's a natural fit. You may find it a bit hard to use and maybe like a lower like count, like if you're soloing or dueling, you might want something more reliable for your anti-tank. But if you're on a team and you just have like factory striders rolling in every once in a while, this gun felt amazing for taking out those. Or if you just see a really nasty dropship coming in with a bunch of like tanks or hulks on them, very satisfying to drop really fast on a target. Highly recommend. Next, going into, honestly, probably the most fun weapon they've ever added to the game, personally. Even if you're not a melee enjoyer, I freaking love the breaching hammer. It's hammer time, dude. It feels so good. It was so fun to use. At first, I was a little bit worried when I first saw it. I was like, oh my God, how much self damage am I going to be taking? Is it going to do enough damage? Because even in this little trailer, they show you like running up and destroying a brood commander or like a devastator. And that is underselling its potential. It is underselling it because this thing can one-shot a Hulk. You can dive and throw it. You can one-shot a harvester depending on where you hit it. If you know, you know, there's a bunch of weird hit zones on a harvester. You technically want to hit it towards like the eye or like the top of the shell, unless if you can't do that, you can actually reload it and hit it again if you're using the hover pack. Hopefully we got the clip for that. You can actually one-shot a normal charger and a sport charger. Sport charger may not go very well for you. You're probably going to die immediately when it dies and take yourself out with it. But that being said, and it nearly so close takes out a behemoth charger if you hit it to the head. But there's some tech to that. If you bring like a gas guard dog or like a senator or something, just do a little bit of heavy pen, just a little bit on top of your breaching hammer, you can one-shot it. So what I was doing is I was using the gas guard dog. Gas guard dog would go in, actually affect him with gas, which does a little bit of damage to the head, and then I smack him in the head. He dies. It was a fantastic combo. You can do it with other ones, obviously, like the arc dog or the hot dog would also work as well, or just using a senator, like I said, some kind of heavy pen weapon to just do a little bit of chip damage so you can finish it off with the hammer. I don't know if they're going to change that. Hopefully they will, so you don't have to do that, but it is kind of cool that you can do that. As far as your larger targets, you can one-shot a tank, just run up to it, smack it. I found success with even just smacking it in the side, which I was surprised at. I thought I would have to go to the flank every time. A factory strider, if you run underneath it and you just hit one leg 4 times, it's dead. Now, obviously, if you are ballsy enough, you could go on his head and hit him twice on the head and kill him there. Hopefully, you guys get the same result with that one. It might have been hurt when we were testing it, but hopefully it's 2 for you guys as well. Bile Titan, if you can hover pack up and smack it in the head, you know, I think it should almost one-shot it. I think it'll be a little bit low. Same kind of thing though, 2 shots. And remember, with the hover pack, you can actually reload while midair and do a second swing. It's just incredibly fun. Oh, harvesters as well. You can actually walk up to the leg of a harvester and smack it twice in the leg. That does work. So you don't have to bring a hover pack for it. Flesh mobs, 1 shot. That was sick. Fabricators, you can destroy them. The UFOs in Illuminate missions, you can actually walk up and hit the ramp of the UFO. You don't actually have to hit the ship itself, and the shield can still be up because I guess the ramp counts as like the hitbox for the demolition force pass or fail system. Kind of funny, kind of goofy, but yep, it does work. Careful if you try to like just melee the door because technically the ship falls on top of you and it could technically kill you. So I would recommend doing the ramp strat that I was doing. Yeah, it works out a lot better. One thing I was a bit sad about was that I could not get it to blow up a bug hole at all. It didn't matter if I was like smacking the sides, the top. I tried diving in and hitting it. It didn't seem to work for me, unfortunately. Maybe you guys can find some tech for it, but I couldn't get it to work. But regardless, I really like the breaching hammer. Bring some kind of mobility backpack or like some kind of guard dog to like kind of keep enemies at bay. It worked best versus Illuminate and bugs, I would say. Bots, it was a mixed bag just because of all of the ragdolling and just ranged gunfire. It could be a bit tough, but breach hammer is extremely fun. The only reason I'm not going to be putting in S tier is just because at the end of the day, guys, it's a melee weapon and your experience will vary depending on how many ranged enemies you have to deal with and how good you are at just staying alive in close quarters. It can be very dicey in this game just because you are a very squishy Helldiver and there are some very powerful enemies out there. So keep that in mind, but extremely fun. So fun. So fun. Fun alone, I think it should just be S tier. Just saying. Okay, next, going into the armor sets. Not the most interesting when you first read it, but it has some interesting little quirks to it. When the wearer takes damage, they regain some stamina. It is based on how much damage you take. So if you take a small amount of damage, you only get a small amount of stamina. But when you're taking like blaster fire from automatons, it felt like 10 to 15% of your stamina would come back. So it was pretty decent, I gotta say. And you are taking regular chip damage a lot of the time in this game. So it was nice when you're like trying to get across a gap and, you know, you're just taking some random blaster fire, you know, keeping your stamina up so you don't stam out and slow down. That was nice. And the second part is the higher armor rating. It's basically just a smaller version of the extra padding armor. So you get get 125 on medium armor, and you get 175 on the heavy, without actually penalizing your stamina regen at all. So decent. Now, for the interesting little tidbit, if you pair this with Dead Sprint, because Dead Sprint does a small tick amount of damage when you run out of stamina, you're going to continue running at full pace, but because you're taking a small amount of damage, you gain a small amount of stamina back. So like basically it alternates. You take a little bit of damage, you get a little bit of stamina back. And because you got a little stamina back, you stop taking damage for a small amount of time. And it just kind of alternates back and forth, essentially meaning you take about half the amount of damage from Dead Sprint. And if you're wearing the heavy armor, you take even less damage. And if you're wearing the vitality booster, you take even less damage because it's stacking damage resistance. The armor rating applies to it. So it's really interesting with the Dead Sprint booster and this armor. It actually works a lot better, because one of my biggest downsides to Dead Sprint is obviously it does a rather large amount of damage after a decent amount of time. But if you can further reduce that by a good amount while also getting some pretty nice benefits of, you know, taking some stamina back every single time you get hit, you're going to feel pretty good about mobility, you know, while wearing heavy armor. It feels a lot better. You don't feel like you constantly need to be running light armor, for instance, when you got Dead Sprint and like, let's say the heavy or medium armor of this set, which is pretty cool. But, you know, that being said, you know, niche aside, it's lower tier. I obviously will just always recommend, you know, going for some of the more ammo oriented or reload oriented armor perks, or going for your medic, your standard medic, or explosive resistance for bots, scout armor, or the new stealth armor if you're going for more, you know, stealthy gameplay. This one, you know, may fit a niche. If you're interested, go for it, but not one of my more recommended armors out there. Okay, now for the most exciting thing in the Warbond, I think for many people, is the return of the Trident. This gun was from HD1. It is a automatic, or I guess it's semi-automatic. I don't think you can, could you just hold it down? Now I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was automatic. I think I was clicking regardless. I was slowing the fire rate down, but it was a laser shotgun. Does very respectable damage at 360. The heat is not that much of a factor on the cold planets. It genuinely felt like you had always enough heat to just fire it at whatever pace you wanted. Maybe not full fire rate, but it felt very strong on the cold planets. On normal planets, you had to slow your fire rate down, you know, tap fire, you know, control yourself, don't go too crazy. But, you know, just like in HD1, I could see a lot of people going crazy for this weapon. If you ever go back and look at Helldivers 1 like gameplay, a lot of the time you're going to see them using this weapon, and you're going to understand why in HD2. It feels amazing against all factions, especially against bugs. You know, pair it with a gas guard dog. That combo was amazing, especially with the hammer too. Man, it felt like I could deal with a breach all by myself on level 10. On bots, it was a little bit more awkward, obviously, because it actually has the duckbill attachment by default. So if you don't know what that means, it basically squashes the pellet spread. Rather than being a circle, it turns into like an oval, which is really nice for just some factions, like for the Illuminate Voteless or bugs in general. It felt really good. But for the bots faction, you typically want a more accurate cone of fire. So it did feel a little more like awkward trying to go for the eyes of devastation and stuff like that. You had to feel like you had to be pretty close to go for eyes. You obviously could sweep them of the legs, but it doesn't have the most durable damage in the world. So it does take a good amount of shots to the legs. So I would angle this more towards the bugs and squids. But that being said, like I'm sure we have some good footage here of me using on bots, which I did for a while. I liked it on bots too. You just have to make sure that you're like getting pretty close to these enemies and keeping your stim count up, because you're going to be hit trading a decent amount with this weapon. But it felt very fun. The sound effect is awesome. The effect in general of the lasers leaving the barrel is really cool. The random spread of it. It's just a really neat weapon, and it's extremely fun to use. Unfortunately, no like really cool upgrades just yet. Maybe in the future we're going to get like some batteries and stuff like that. Not to say that it really needs it. Like I said, if you're on a cold planet or a neutral planet, it felt really good. But like on a hot planet, I'd probably avoid. If any of the planets are hot, I would just probably not use the Trident. You could just not fire it very much before it overheated. But yeah, that being said, it's an S tier weapon on bugs and Illuminate. Although you do not have the medium pen of some players that, you know, they're gonna be just like beside themselves, they don't have medium pen. Dude, it just feels so good. And yes, if you just go for some weak points, it performs just as good. It feels very nice in the hands, and you may want to put down the cookout just because of this. The unlimited ammo and just the sheer amount of damage it could put out felt so nice. It doesn't have a crazy amount of stagger force, so keep that in mind. It's no cookout replacement in that regard, but the sheer damage of it was really nice. Having those follow-up shots you don't have to pump is just, you know, an absolute lifesaver. And yeah, it was just a very satisfying weapon in general. So that is our Warbond discussion for now. Obviously, this is just after the first day of the Warbond. We'll be back with more streams in the coming days as we push towards Cyberstand. So if you guys are interested, come on by the Twitch channel or YouTube. It is Maplewood_TV on YouTube or Twitch. Just heads up, I don't stream on this channel. I have a secondary channel that I stream on. Just does better for the viewers. So for the videos, they get shared better. The algorithm's a bit weird sometimes. Please consider dropping a sub on our secondary channel or coming by Twitch. I stream really early in the morning, NA, but it's like normal morning EU. So typically it's about 9 a.m. CET, so Central European time, and I go till about noon Eastern Standard Time for me, so it'd be about 6 p.m. for you Europeans out there. So yeah, come on by, ask me questions if you want to just see some footage of me playing around with these weapons. We're going to be trying to unlock all the tech for them, testing them out, and we will do a more comprehensive tier list in the future, I'm sure, because there's just been so many changes with all the weapons. I'm going to want to redo my tier list in the next couple months, but the next video I'm going to be making is a Warbond tier list. It's been a while since we've done it, and it's been some shuffling, so I want to reorganize and try to give you guys a buy order that I really like. So yeah, YouTube, hope you guys enjoyed. Consider leaving a comment down below. What's your favorite part of this Warbond? Are you getting it? Are you passing on it? Do you love it? What do you think of the tank? What do you think of the patch? Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on live streams. Peace.